Thank you very much. It is a great pleasure for me to share with you our results of our recent research work we do for the Ljubljana. This is the Sustainable Study toward 2050. Today, I think we heard quite good starting points about what is sustainable development and what are the reasons. I just would like to stress, for me, this economic incentive is one of the most important besides all other environmental issues which were mentioned today. So I think it's not for Slovenia which is importing a majority of fuel. So I think the perspective is to invest in intelligent, efficient technologies and creating new jobs instead of going on with current policy, importing more and more expensive fuels which more and more influence to the environment. And paying for that, I think it's really a change in the investment philosophy is key issue and a key business opportunity also for Ljubljana. So in our study, Sustainable Urban Infrastructure of Ljubljana, a view toward 2050, which was financed by Siemens Slovenia, we tried to develop such scenarios to achieve these goals. This is the first such study implemented in Slovenia at the city level or also on the national level, and also is comparable with similar approach which were done in several capitals of Europe. We developed two scenarios. One is reference scenarios, we achieved 50% of decrease of CO2 emission with this scenario, and another one, more ambitious, is sustainable excellence with 80% of CO2 reduction. We can see on the graph how the CO2 emissions could be reduced by sector toward 2050. Definitely this is possible, and I will briefly show how we approach to this challenging issue. Definitely when we are talking about sustainable planning in urban area, there are no copy-paste planning solutions. This is the most frequent mistakes. Each city is unique, has its own characteristics, and we should shape the solutions, shape the concrete options based on the current environment. And another issue is also that use of proper planning tools and models is crucial for the success. This is too complex material that we would deal just with a generalist approach, with a copy of practice from other cities or other experiences. Definitely, exchange of this experience is very important, but we should make our own tools based on the current conditions. What is for the sustainable and climate-friendly development of urban definitely requires efficient spatial planning, efficient and secure energy supply, and efficient public transport. I think these are the three most important pillars which we are facing today when we are tackling this challenging planning. Energy efficiency or responsible behavior of all municipal structures is, I think, the red line how to achieve these goals. And one of the important challenges is also how to manage together the state and city to promote greater adoption of new efficient technologies by the consumers. Why it is so important? We cannot succeed on the national level if we not succeed on the city level, on regional level. May I illustrate that with this graph on the service and public sector. In Ljubljana, close to 30% of energy is consumed in the total service and public sector of Slovenia. So we can, as public sector is one of the most advanced, which should be from the European perspective, we cannot adopt or we cannot achieve these goals without very integrated and common approach with the state and Ljubljana policy. So this integration is crucial for the success. And definitely the challenge is huge. If you look to the potential for reduction of energy demand in existing buildings and public sectors, we can see we can almost halve this demand in the next decades. If you look to the new buildings, this decrease is even bigger because we are going toward zero energy buildings, toward active buildings. Another step which is quite necessary is switch to sustainable energy sources, where in the case of Ljubljana, we should keep the big market share of district heating supply in the service sector and households and other buildings. I think this is one of the important sustainable supply of energy which should remain the majority source of energy, majority supply also in the future. But on the other hand, we should change from less sustainable fossil fuel like fuel oil to the natural gas, where is a huge potential for cogeneration in service sector, and also other renewables like geothermal heat pumps, energy, solar, and wood biomass sources. Similar situation is in household sector. If we look to the potential for decrease of CO2 emission, we can see on this graph that the emissions will be slightly increased due to new buildings, due to increase of household area, but this increase will be small due to new legislation and new very efficient standards. But on the other hand, there is again huge potential for reduction of CO2 emissions through energy building retrofits. And another step is to provide a sustainable supply of energy, so change to less emissions fuels, and especially to renewables also in the household sector. As I mentioned before, we can achieve almost 65% of energy demand decrease, and on an emission level it is even larger decrease, 85%, taking into account also the renewables where we don't have any emissions. I already mentioned district heating supply. I think this is the vital part of sustainable urban infrastructure, especially in Ljubljana, where the system is already in place and is operating in a good manner. But definitely in next decades, we foresee intensive development of district heating, which will develop also in the cooling system with extensive network retrofit for decrease of the losses, with new connection, network extensions. And one important issue is also the gradual change of fuel. We have now very efficient supply from CHP plant, cogeneration in Ljubljana, but we should foresee the switch from coal to co-firing of wood biomass that already happened in Ljubljana. Next step is switch to natural gas, and toward 2050 we should switch to total renewable supply, and also the energy from waste should find its room in the supply of sustainable heat in Ljubljana. In any case, although we expect increasing of the market share of district heating connections, the total volume will definitely decrease. This is the result of energy retrofit of the buildings. We should be aware of that. So our estimation, our results show on somehow 40% decrease of district heating supply. So definitely we should think about the new services, new challenges also for this sector in Ljubljana. Another interesting issue and very crucial is the fresh water supply in Ljubljana. From the graph I present, you can see that Ljubljana has already done some very good work also on this very important issue. So we succeeded to decrease energy demand for 16% in the last 10 years, but definitely the huge challenge is also for the future. There is still huge potential for additional reduction through better energy management of the system, reduction of losses, and also other measures for reduced energy water demand in the capital. And now, what is the key business opportunity where Ljubljana should start today, not thinking for tomorrow? I think it is energy management in Ljubljana. We are all aware there are several obstacles toward efficient energy management, like missing of data, lack of goals, clear obligations, responsibility of the management and employees. But we see here really huge opportunities. First of all, there's the opportunity for significant reduction of energy costs in Ljubljana. Just with the investment to the energy management system, which will enable efficient management of energy in the buildings of municipality of Ljubljana, we can save at least 0.7 million euro per year. And this is the payback. I think it's quite rather attractive, less than 6 years. And this is a very good starting point for planning next measures and for developing new energy and green services in Ljubljana, which I think is one of the vital business opportunity for Ljubljana Holding, which is at the moment supplying energy and other services to the municipality. And also here we can see the extended investment are really huge. If we would look just the necessary investment in the household sector, they are estimated on 3 billion euros in the next decades. So why don't Ljubljana would take part in this business opportunity and contribute even in that segment in the future. And what are the key measures? Definitely, first of all, is a proper organization of the city administration. So we should establish energy manager of Ljubljana and efficient network for implementation of project, for implementation of development, new services and new development in this branch. And definitely next step is starting with the investment, with energy management system as first step, which will then enable simple and also complex measures implementation in Ljubljana buildings. I hope also Elena facility will enable this development in the future. As we heard today, it's on a good road to be implemented. And at the end, we should not forget this linkage between the technology and the people. So proper approach in education and motivation of employees and all citizens, I think, is a crucial point for the success of such implementation. If I conclude, definitely successful, sustainable and climate-friendly development strategy of urban areas must be adaptive and must rely on the empirical data. So definitely we should use the data of specific cities, specific options, specific solutions. Our analysis confirms that the harmonization of interest between the state, cities and the citizens is first and very important step to achieve these goals. And at the end, definitely the extent of foreseen investment in sustainable urban infrastructure is very, very extensive. We are really facing huge investment numbers. But I'm sure that these numbers, these investments are necessary and they are justified. And they are really challenging introduction of change of the investment and change of our behavior and change of future development of the city. Although we should be aware there is really very complex environment. But I'm sure it can be done. I think with the common approach, it can be done. And I'm also convinced that sustainable urban infrastructure is today business opportunity and a great challenge of future development. So thank you for your attention. And I would be glad also to answer any of your questions.